All right, welcome back to Finding Truth, podcast on Unscripted Truth TV, episode 40. We've made it. We are old men in podcast episode years, uh, or at least I feel that way. but uh, but no, we'll go as long as necessary. Well, really, as long as we want, because that's really what drives us is our own desire to do this. But at the same time, 40 episodes is nothing to sneeze at. I think that's a cool accomplishment. Not that I'm resting on my laurels at all, but it's been a fun ride with you, and look forward for 40 more. But yeah, had a bit of a up and down week weather wise. It was pretended to be summer for a little bit, then jumped back into winter. Like you mentioned before we started, it was the longest day of the year. The symbol of summer, and we had like the most dreary, rainy shit day. So that was a bit of a you know I'm sure that plays a great role in the human body. It's just like, oh yeah, get ready, soak in the rays, and it's just gray as possible. But anyway, tonight we will be jumping into NASCAR. We had it finish up earlier today, the Pocono race, so we'll take a look at that. We had a driver's first win this week, so we'll look at that and see if we can pinpoint any peculiarities between that, and we'll look ahead to next week's race as well, a Saturday race, which is interesting, at least to me. I'm sure it's not too crazy, but yeah. Besides that, I think on the docket tonight we're going to, if you're unless you're living under a rock like Osama bin Laden, uh, which if you were like Osama bin Laden living under a rock, you would have all the finest technology to be able to, orchestrate attacks, across several seas. But if you're living under a normal American rock and you don't know about what's going on, of course, we bombed Iran and got into it, the scuffle with Israel and Iran. Like, of course, we're being sister nations. Duh. Anybody who, definitely in the gematria community, Zach's community, I should say. He's been calling this for forever, and not to mention, just like not that long ago, he basically said exactly this, which is it's like, damn, Zach. Holy, it's like I know you're not Hamas, but it's like, damn, someone might someone might start thinking you're like his prediction was. I'm not, and I'm being facetious, of course, because his prediction was 100% correct, and it's not just some baseless prediction either. He knows exactly what he's talking about because he's much more in tune with the script because the script is all numerical ritual, and that's what he's best at. So not to say he does numerical rituals, but he's good at decoding them. So yeah, it's like we've seen something looming, and here it is. And of course, this is just the true beginning. It's been going on for a while, but now we're getting into the actual, like you mentioned, just strictly right before we started. The precedent setting. This is the stage setting right now. I even left a comment on the day of that we yeah, the 21st, a couple days ago, or what the hell is today? Yesterday. So yeah, when Zach put out a video and I commented because, I had today kind of marked for shenanigans because it's, 21/6. And we talked several times about, 216, 6 times 6 times 6. And they've used that one a lot, so I had already thought that, that would be a day pretty rife with something going on. And of course we get not to mention just the quick news of, oh, we're sending B-20 bombers to Guam. Hour later, oh yeah, we popped them. It's just like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. I'm sure you just decided that. We're getting news coming out, more and more about how this has been a planned thing, but we don't plan on necessarily talking too much I don't think at length, or maybe even at all, about the actual ins and outs of this conflict or anything like that. That might be a maybe even next week, depending on what happens throughout the next week. But we're gonna attack this one, kind of on the same train we've been for a while now, and think about the humans living this in the here and now, what they're what's their mental like, especially through the lens of men right now, and especially facing a potential war. And like we like to talk about, it's tearing people apart at all different types of fronts, and this is just a new one that's quite large. It's one thing to talk about mental health and things of that nature. That these things can drink more water, you can fix a lot of this stuff. But a war coming to your doorstep, there's not a lot of water drinking you can do to help with that, you know what I mean? So these things are more added stress, more added worries and mental decay on top of an already mental decayed people, and just kind of talk about where that leads us with the context of this new war, and obviously throw in the joke of the whole war and it being under this president, and the juxtaposition of people that ride with him heavy now. It's just like, well, now what? I mean, come on. It's one thing. Well, we'll talk about that in a bit, because I want to show a headline that just I still can't stop laughing at it. It's so funny to me, but I hope you'll find it funny too when I show it. But without further ado, let's just hop into the NASCAR race. And how was your week, bud?
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, it wasn't nothing to brag about, for it being a men's mental health month or whatever. I don't know, it's the thing this. I don't think maybe not to mention that this month so far, but
Yeah, I didn't
yeah,
know.
it was all right. I mean, like I said, it was kind of last few days, the first day of summer, longest day of the year. Kind of kicked off to almost felt like it was the start of winter. It was like 50s, cold, rainy. Wasn't that great yesterday either. It's the same thing, kind of cold and rainy, uncharacteristic uh of Washington in the summertime. But yeah, it was just kind of a very fast week. I had just heard last night about the attacks and stuff. Us attacking Iran and stuff, and like I said, hung out with a friend from class and stayed over there, and it was kind of a trip, just kind of just chilling, sitting outside, just getting high, and then there's like those voltage things that were going off, sound like gunshots that were like there was like a gunshot. It sounded like there was like right down the road, but then later on, there was like we were outside. It was like 9 o'clock, and then around like midnight, there was like another one that we heard, uh, and then all of a sudden the power went out. The power was out last night till this morning, so power went out after around midnight. So it's kind of hearing these weird voltage gunshot sounds. And I know someone from, I guess the gym, someone's buddy or something committed suicide and stuff. So this is kind of like one of those weeks where, like Monday, I don't know, I was at the gym and I just felt like it's like everyone was kind of gravitating towards me. Just kind of felt like it was like, oh, what's this week going to be? This kind of this energy. And like the rest of the days was kind of like, kind of blend, man, just kind of went through the week. And yeah, it just kind of, this week just kind of flew by. I mean, hanging out last night, with my friend, and then just, the weather has kind of just been down, and it's just kind of been a weird vibe. And this World War III thing kicking off with Iran, and just all these things happening right now. So it's just like, yeah, every day, every week, every episode, it's just like we're living in a movie. It's like we're right in the climax every week. So it's almost like these people are just reading our minds and setting this stuff up. It's quite amazing. But yeah, it's interesting. It's episode 40. We're in the 40s now. We got one more episode for June. And about a week left of June. The 4th of July is coming. And like I said, I did say I expect an event before, between last episode and 4th of July. And we got yesterday with Iran, and who knows what could be else coming by July 4th at this rate, because they're just setting a blistering pace.
That is for sure. Speaking of setting a blistering pace, how about Chase Briscoe out there, guys?
Yeah, that 19, man.
uh, so yeah, I know we did like a quick synopsis last week, not too much of a look ahead, any kind of decode for this week. So it was really up in the air for us. I didn't have any um for sure picks or anything. I don't think we've given picks that often lately, but not actual picks, but just our thoughts so much. But we did have a first time winner for this season in Chase Briscoe, and you mentioned he's someone that's been there quite a lot. I mean, let's quickly go to NASCAR stats, but yeah, he's pulled very well. I've seen him on the pole many times. Not maybe not on the pole, but good positioning.
At his first year with Gibbs, he had one win back in 2022 with Stuart Haas. That was his first win. Then he won once last year with Stuart Haas, and yeah, just won his third race. Essentially, he's 30 years old. He won the Tricky Triangle. Three corners, 3 points to the Pocono Raceway, and then comes through today. But yeah, he's been polling. He was on pole for the 500. He was said how many poles this year. He said he qualified really well. He qualified sixth today.
Mhm.
So finally, time for him to get his first win with Gibbs. I guess it was pretty fitting, with um, Hamlin winning 2 weeks ago and being kind of the favorite to win today, and just having his kid, and go figure it would go to Briscoe finally pulling through.
Yeah, and Denny's secured for the playoffs too, so you definitely see some of that kind of drafting going on with their propelling the teammate forward, because I mean it was a very very tight race, and from what I read, the pit crew was basically telling Chase that he was not going to have enough gas for the last 40 laps, yet he somehow prevailed. That's one thing, but the fact that Denny should have been in prime position to win, uh, based on at least somewhat based on that, um, and the fact that he just took second. I mean, less than a second. It was neck and neck. Um, just kind of goes to show that there was definitely like some teammate inner workings there to get Chase his first win, so to have more representation in the field for Gibbs Racing, I would assume.
Yeah, 11 plus 19. That's also 30. That's interesting to think about as well.
That
Another
three
thing I
showing up.
forgot too last week was just the color of SVG's car, Shane Van Gisbergen. It was purple. Purple equals 88, going along with that
Mhm.
outstanding phenomenal ritual they had set for last week. That was really interesting to see how they would come back with the comeback for this week, and it was the
Going Doughty.
Briscoe Crisco
There's purple
purple.
equals 88. And yeah, I mean, talk about a purple. That thing was a standout for sure. What are the odds, right? Like such a flashy car he's driving to win in. It is kind of interesting. Like, kind of makes you wonder about the inner workings of certain things. It's like they put the effort into these things. Is it all for naught, or to I think about these things like that. Uh, whether we like it or not, they might not be people that. First of all, NDAs are a huge part of this world. You got to understand that this is what people don't understand, I think, about how these things are scripted and kept quiet. It's because they are paid to keep them quiet. That is just such a simple fact. Not everyone cares that sports are scripted. People that work lighting for events, like think about that. You're setting up an event. So say you're like setting up a parade, or like a celebration event for a huge playoff win. You have people there setting up lighting before you even win. And it's not, and you're not going to sit there and tell me, oh no, it's, it's just we got that kind of money. We're just like doing it just in case. And if we don't win, yeah, it all goes to waste. That's not how that works. And that I'm not talking about anything on a small scale. And that's maybe an obscure example, but there's people in the know that are, that work sound and lighting for these things that they know. They're like, it's either that or they're all foreigners, which I doubt. But yeah, there's people in the know that just, it's not, they're happy to have what they have and go home and make buco bucks probably for what they do. And they're not invested in sports that like that. They're not invested in whatever it may be. And so they have no problem signing an NDA that in their eyes there's no like sinister plot. You know what I mean? It's like just it's the same thing. They probably see it as like wrestling. There's people that work the wrestling, real people that do the stuff for wrestling. Okay. Yeah, they see thousands of people filing in as if it's real. It's no harm, no foul. Same goes for all the other sports. It's not like they think they're sitting on some like devastating information. First of all, NFL and stuff like that, they basically come out and said that they're fake, and still everybody acts as if it's all real. But
Yeah, and then you got all these people that I mean, the races, I mean, like, like I was looking at something too. They were saying, is NASCAR going to go back to like Mexico next year? But it's just, or are we doing it again, or is it just this year? Just like then you just see how it, like we were pointing out last week, how it's just tied in with everything else. Not even to look at how rigged the NASCAR races, but just look how rigged, not the race, the schedule, the um, just the politics are with everything going on, just how thought out these things are. Um, like I said, 2 weeks ago when Hamlin wins, and then last week he's not at the race. He's got the kid coming. Last week, this week he's favored. So he's going to be on pole, but finishes second. So, and I kind of figured that too. I didn't really figure there was going to be two pole winners back to back.
mhm.
I kind of figured it'd be someone else. Kind of thought maybe Reddick or the other Gibbs could have got something in there. They haven't won it yet this year, and kind of wondering when that's going to happen. But yeah, it was Crisco's day.
In the Bass Pro Shop car.
Yep.
So let's real quickly, let's see from his last birthday, November 25th. To today was 209 days. About to his next birthday. 156 days to his next birthday. Yeah, I gotta be careful with this stupid gematria calculator too, with all these ads. Bro, there was like a lingerie ad that popped up that the lady's tits were just poking right through. I'm like, what the hell? Am I like am I in the no incognito mode right now? Did I accidentally? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
internet's been real wonky lately. Everything's been just like weird. It's like glitching out, or things are just popping off. It's like, like I said, with the internet going away, you got to wonder how much time we got even left on this thing.
I mean, get rid of it. I don't care.
It's on its last legs, anyways.
So let's see here. Something seems somewhat familiar. Let's see here. It's Pocono Raceway. Okay, that was what I was thinking. It's Pennsylvania. I know I saw a couple 64s in play. Obviously, we saw this last week, the Pocono and Pennsylvania equaling 64. One thing I did notice was
A Twicky Triangle.
Oh yeah. Tricky triangle. I guess we can add the as well because that is what they called it. I saw in the quotes it was the tricky triangle, but that equals 88. I think we saw that last week too.
Yins Burgundy.
All right, so let's take a look at quickly because I want to get into our discussion. That's for sure. Briscoe County Jr. Got a December 15th birthday. 30 years old was another 3.
Mitchell, Indiana.
I mean, just 4 names too. Chase, David, Wayne, Briscoe. So it sounds like
Yeah.
you're calling out all of your sons. It's just one dude. Let's see. What was that? December 15th? Yeah. So 176 days till his next birthday. And from his last, it's 189 days. 27 weeks on the nose. Oh, 6 months and 7 days. Oops. Man, I can't type. Oh my gosh, can't type. Yeah, Bass Pro Shops equals 67. That's about all I've seen. Too blaring. And you know, I don't know every number, you know, what it, you know, can correlate to, and I didn't say does correlate, but can correlate to kind of have like a bigger picture on this, especially with NASCAR, because I don't know all the context of like the historical context of NASCAR. You know a lot more than me about that.
Yeah, I forget what his full name equals. His big four names.
It's like, oops, I meant to enter that, but it's like 315 or something. What was it? Oh my gosh, I can't type. Oh, 215. 127. 379. That's like a 75th prime or something like that. Yeah, 75th prime. Ooh, I remembered.
Briscoe.
So when was his last win? That's what I was going to look up here.
It was last year. I think it was towards the end of the year.
Darlington, yeah.
Yeah.
September 1st. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, that's convenient. Okay, try to remember this. When you look up the team's wins, it says who they ran for. That is very helpful. It's been a pain to look that up. So that's kind of I've never noticed that, or I didn't pay attention enough to notice that, because we've definitely looked at teams' wins. That's good to know. So the last win at Darlington on September 1st. It's from the anniversary of his last win. "42 weeks on the nose." Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, he's kind of someone that's just kind of always under the radar. I mean, he's always there, but he's not there. He's got, those one first win 2022. He won once last year. He's got a win this year. Be interesting to see if he gets another win this year. Interesting. He started twice in sixth and one from sixth too.
He's young, so interesting. Well, it's pretty crazy. What I've noticed is like the overwhelming narrative with this series, this season, has been surrounding Gibbs and kind of like it's almost like a what do they call that? It's like the Gibbs sphere because by extension with Hamlin racing for Gibbs, you throw in Hamlin's team, so then you're throwing in Reddick and Bubba and
Yeah, but
Gisbergen and so yeah, you have just through one team you have it represents almost not that they do necessarily represent Reddick and everything like that, but they kind of do. It's something that's very interesting. It's because like you have an active driver racing for a team, yet it's no kind of conflict of interest that he also is co-owning a team with drivers in the same series. So say this came down to Bubba. Let's just throw Bubba in there because I like him. Not really, but um, say he won and Hamlin finished second under the same circumstances, with Hamlin finishing literally less than a second behind. Would anybody ever be like, it is kind of weird that he races for his team, and you know what I'm talking about. It's one thing that two Gibbs drivers won today, but what if a Gibbs driver barely finished behind, a Gibbs, Denny Hamlin finished behind a 23XI driver? Are people going to bat an eye and say, wait a minute, did he kind of like make sure that his 23XI driver won? Does that have the same taste in the mouth as like helping out a Gibbs teammate? Because I could see that being palatable. Like, oh yeah, they're driving together even at the end. I could see that being a part of racing. Honestly, it sounds kind of cool. Adds like a co-op aspect to it, and I know they do that. I've seen Ricky Bobby do it a couple times. I know that drafting's a thing, and that teammates can do that kind of stuff. But but does it become a conflict of interest with the team aspect, like Denny Hamlin actively driving alongside team, like basically drivers he is their owner? Isn't that kind of weird?
yeah, it's very interesting the way they set up the dynamics for all this stuff because it's like um you got these like teams and you got these like kind of like knockoff teams like the 23XI and these other guys and you got like the Joe Gibbs guys and then you got
Hendrick.
you know these yeah these different factions and how all these people kind of come together and it's kind of like I said before how like back in the day like the Winston Cup that you'd have uh some of the teams like you'd have like the Hendrick cars and then you'd have like the MB2 cars and they'd be you'd have Chevy and Pontiac and they'd have like the same engines. It's like uh there's like a race in like 2002 at Talladega where like all the Hendrick cars blew up and had engine failures and then you had the other two, the Pontiacs that had the same engines as those guys and that they had engine problems that day too. And the only one that didn't was like the Joe Gibbs Pontiacs because they had their own engines and stuff. So it's kind of like you see how this can be like kind of a good thing and a bad thing. How they can kind of set up with some of this stuff, like kind of it's almost like a monopoly um, with the way they run these teams and how they actually prepare the cars and you know if someone's going to get a win or someone trying to get a teammate in the playoffs or trying to get maybe someone with the same manufacturer or kind of like a split knockoff team trying to get them in the playoffs, something like that. Um, just creates more interesting variables and stuff too. It's kind of like there's not really like there was like Kurt and Kyle Busch, there was like brothers stuff like that for a while, but that's kind of gone away as of late. But yeah, they always got to add that extra, stigma, get people to interested, or different ways to have certain people they like or look forward to seeing, or different reasons why these people are winning or losing, and got to always create and set up the narratives. Like last week was Ginsburg, this time it was Briscoe.
Yeah, it is. It really is wild to me that that is a facet of the series. And it's we talk about this this certain levers of control that sports have in order to direct the narrative as best they see fit for the for the betting and all those types of things. And this it does kind of like does kind of tend to, for me it kind of tends to seem like that is where they're going with that it's just another way for them to drive the narrative. No pun intended. But so that these stories are just writing themselves. I mean, every week it's like I've said for a long time, there's been a heavy focus on Denny Hamlin for a long time. Like I'm not any kind of like NASCAR head. I don't like do too much research off the books or anything like that. But when I do kind of like look into the headlines, there's so much to do with Denny Hamlin. Maybe it'll die down. Um, now that he's had his kid and the kind of he's out of the limelight with the whole court proceedings thing. But uh it's been interesting how much he's been kind of propelled. Like every week they're talking about his potential retirement and this and this and that. It's a lot of retirement talk. Um and if he were to even retire early, I think he would still make the playoffs, which in which case, who knows how that goes? I don't know how that exactly works. If you can like bow out and still make the playoffs, it kind of that also seems weird to me. Um, but yeah, just seeing a lot of narrative surrounding him and Jordan, and by extension, 23XI could be kind of propelled forward through that as well. I know we've been trying to call a Bubba win, not necessarily a win, but trying to call a Bubba explosion coming up here, and we've been rather close, which is so funny. The times that it's seemed like, he might do something. He was right there for both the times we called it, and so it kind of also lends credence to the idea that we're kind of on this narrative train, and whether or not we call the race, like that's tough to do, but just to understand that we're kind of understanding where this narrative is going. And for me, I've talked about this before too. It's just really comes down to like sports center headlines that you can see where they're going with, and that it really is all sports. It's why I had the Eagles winning the Super Bowl and everything like that. It wasn't because I had some like better theory or I was just being a contrarian against Zach's one of his very few like direct calls. He still called everything else to do with that season, but it's not like I was trying to be contrarian or anything. It's just like for me, it was like overwhelming the narrative, the upending that they like to do, which Zach knows full well about. He was, you know, irked that he didn't go with his kind of his gut on that. But of course, I don't. Anyway, so and not to harp on one of his misses. It's he's overwhelmingly correct on almost all of his calls, and he doesn't get anywhere near as much credit for that as he should. And then the other annoying part of it is, it's like he shouldn't have to. The fact that he even has to do like sports betting as his main source is already annoying for people that want to move people forward and society forward. So the whole thing kind of sucks as a whole. But anyway, as far as just having your finger on the pulse of what they're trying to do as the season goes on, I think we're pretty close to the ball on this one.
Yeah, and it's like I said, I mean, I feel like if it's if it's not the Ford Pete, or we don't have like maybe like William Byron up still waiting. He didn't do much this race. I know he kind of just finished top 10 the last one, but kind of still waiting to see if he gets another win. But yeah, I mean, other than those, you know, those theories, I feel like we could have something with Gibbs coming up or Hamlin this season. But yeah, I feel like it is building to something bigger and greater. I mean, it's just like finding the William Byron going back to back in the 500s Daytona with the rain, and then you got William Byron out there, William Byron Lee, uh,
Good
doing
old.
doing his thing. Just how one thing ties to another, and that's what we've been finding. I mean, it's amazing whether it's they're tying it to people or tying it to events, they're tying it to dates or history or whatever it is. I mean, they've just been uh, feels like I know they do it. It's always been this way, but I feel like we've really come a long way as to really dissecting this week by week, how they've been going about it. Like you said, even if we don't you know predict a winner or find a winner or call a winner, it's a lot harder to do now than it used to be with this stuff. But uh, regardless, we're still narratives are still on point. And next week, with the race being on Saturday and stuff, I'm sure whatever happens, it's going to be in Georgia, with the 25s, and you got all the, it's 2025 and everything that's been going on right now. So, um, there's a lot to look forward to that. And who knows what we're going to, there could be, some event that goes down in Georgia. I mean, there could be a Michael Vick sighting with that big old 7 somewhere. You never know what kind of ways they're going to mock you. I seen someone with a Vick jersey the other day just walking around, but yeah, you just never know how what they're going to do next and how they're going to set this stuff up. And the way things are going, nothing would surprise me right now, especially coming up here to finish June.
Well, we'll do a quick look ahead. Let me type in some key phrases here. It's the Quaker State.
Quaker.
Fuel oil. Ooh. Oh, wait, no. 130. Oh, was that? What am I thinking? Donald Trump? Anyway. Quaker State, of course, the motor oil brand. And this was also presented by Walmart. There's that 25. A lot of 88's been playing. I mean, obviously, you got the 47 too. Have to keep Walmart in mind. I forget who. I know they were founded by like the Wall family, but I need to do my my diligence on the Walmart companies. They're often brought up kind of under the radar for as large as they are.
It might be big news soon with that 25.
Okay, so let's take a quick. Let's see here. If you just go to this, it should show overall averages here. Blaney's raced well here. Elliott's, he's been pretty close in a few races. Got the dinger up there. Wow. Logano's kind of, got his win and faded back into obscurity, hasn't he?
Yeah.
If you were going to predict like Ford coming out on, coming out big, it'd be probably Blaney and Logano are probably, somewhere near the top two. Of course, Blaney got his win. They both have a win this year, which is good. That's good, But
Yeah, Logano got that one win. There's that other race where he dominated and should have won, and he got screwed out of it. And yeah, really since then he hasn't really done all that much. But yeah, you never know. He might have a late season resurgence.
He's taken a couple of dings too, or his garage has for missed inspections and stuff like that, failed inspections.
Yeah.
It's like the equivalent of juicing. It's like steroids.
Yeah.
Your plate, your skip plate was 0.03 millimeters to the left. Think we wouldn't find out? Okay, so let's see here. So this next race, let's reset this. This will be on the 28th. Yes, June 28th. A Saturday race. That's one thing I haven't been. I'll type in Saturday. I forget what Saturday is all about. Saturn Day.
The day I was
Saturday equals
born.
28. So
Could be a perfect day for a perfect ritual.
yeah. Perfect number. Beautiful number.
Beautiful number.
All right, where are the details? Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, this used to be a regular race. Now I believe this is a restrictor plate race with the way they got the cars now. So turning this into a restrictor plate type show. So yeah, this should be a interesting race. Might be a race anybody really has a shot to win.
Let's take a look here at some of the favorites. Let's see Blaney. What are the chances he gets his second win? December birthday, like all the others. His last birthday to this next week is 173 days. Oh, wait. That's still today. 179 days. Okay, just did that. What was his? Michael. Ryan Michael Jordan Blaney. Oh, that 93 is interesting with it being a Saturday
Yeah.
race. Of course,
Saturn.
Saturn. Then it had whomst else? Okay, add. Chase Elliott, Mr. 201.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he gets a win too.
He's been
Hanging around.
chasing that dragon, that's for sure. William Clyde Chase Elliott. November 28th. Let's run this.
Day before Russell Wilson.
7 months on the day or on the dot. His birthday is the 333rd day of the year. That leaves 33 days. Oh, that's on a leap year. That was last year. Okay. What about from his or to his next birthday? 153, like Jesuit. Oh, wow. Yeah, Jesuit order 153. Mr. 201. He's also got 21 weeks, 6 days, kind of like 666. Okay. Interesting. Where's he from? Oh, he's from Georgia. I just decided to look where he's from, and
Yep. Awesome
Dawson,
Bill from Dawsonville.
Dawsonville. Oh, wow. Well, I say, wow.
Bill Elliott.
Well, okay. Wonder what they got going on in Dawsonville, Georgia. And yeah, so with it being 153 days till his next birthday. And Dawsonville, Jesuit order equals 153, similar to Dawsonville, Georgia, where he's from. And of course, we've talked about this multiple times. What is it? William Clyde Chase. Or is it with the Chase? Imagine that. I always spell his last name wrong. Elliott. How do you spell his name? Okay, I can't. Screw you. Where was the? How do we write his name to get the 201? I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I remember it was 201 though. I think we found his 201 before we found Larson's, but or maybe Larson was first, but I know the both of them were 201 at one point.
It wasn't like I or nothing like that.
I swear it was his full name too when we did it.
Yeah. Hmm. Oh, maybe it's just William Clyde Elliott, the way it says his born name. No, that one we already did that.
So weird.
It's extremely rare. I'm gonna have to like go back now.
I swear it was his full name that equaled 201 when we put it in.
Yeah, dude, I 100% remember that too. I have no idea. Huh. Mandela effect.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's what it's got to be. See, it's a simulation, bro.
And now I'm gonna have to go back and figure out what the hell that was. Anyway, I won't harp on it. We got a discussion to do, but still, that's interesting. Well, even more interesting, or similarly interesting, is he's from Georgia. The whole Dawsonville connection with the Jesuit order, and it being 153 days till his next birthday. That's something. I mean, he's been kind of sniffing that first win for a while. He's been close, and he had a good race this week too. And let's see. Yeah, and he is poised in Atlanta. He already has a win here. Let's take a look. Let's see, he'd be looking for his 20th win. Last win in the Hooters car. Let's go.
Hooters.
So his last one was in April 14th. Last year. 440 days, 14 months,
Georgia
14 months.
44.
Yeah,
Georgia
that's
44.
that's a very yeah, great point. I don't know how I was letting that one slip by. Yeah, 440 days, a lot like 44 in Georgia. So, just a quick ancillary check. I mean, it might be someone to watch for next week.
I have
More
to
than
put a
likely
5
in
on
the
Chase.
Napa Auto Parts. Or is it just Napa Auto? No, it's Napa Auto Parts. Mm.
Napa does know how.
Man, I wonder if I can figure out which episode we did that on. Or at least showcased it. Because, man, that's definitely fucking with me right now.
Yeah, I know. That's
It's
tripping me
not
out
that big
too.
of
It's
a
just like,
deal, but it is
I
really
thought I went
weird.
back and I rechecked that myself not too long ago. Because I remember us putting that in there and it being 201 with Kyle Larson. Because we went on
Yeah,
a
we
big
had
deal about it. Because we're like, yeah, see the two teammates here for Hendrick, the 5 and the 9, the 9, the 5, and they both the 201. And then I remember putting Larson in there, and then I put Chase. I thought I put Chase in there too, and I was noticing the same thing. I'm like, wait, where's the 201? I'm like, where did that go? What happened to it? Because I'm like, we had it, and it tripped me out too. Like I don't know, and then I kind of I forgot about it, but then I'm like, yeah, and then you just brought it up now again. I'm like, yeah, maybe I don't know. I thought I was going nuts too, but then it's just like
I
it's
could have
weird. I don't know.
misspelled something, but I don't know what I would have misspelled that I mean, we had it. Could have been a misspelling. It happens.
I thought we
But
put it in there more than once though. That's what I
yeah, I had
thought.
a list at one point. What was it? 1T, no. 1L, no. That would be a retarded way to spell that. I don't remember it being 2I, like the second, but could be wrong. Yeah, I don't know. I won't harp on it too much. We'll figure it out. Either way, some compelling things otherwise. 440 days since his last win, a lot like 44 in Georgia. That I mean, 44 is like the number of Georgia that plays all the time with the Bulldogs and Hawks and things of that nature.
Georgia, Wisconsin, 44.
Makes sense that that's one of the rivalries.
And just like the Packers and in Georgia have
Mhm.
the same exact G on their logo. The
Yeah.
Packers
Yep.
in Georgia, it's the same G, just different colors, same exact logo and everything.
Yep.
Because they got the
Very,
44.
very good point there. So interesting. Wonder what probably be in the Napa car, but quickly look and then we can talk about our next subject. Oh yeah. Oh no. What did they do? Hooters come back. Yeah, it looks like it'll be I don't see. Yeah, it'll be Napa.
He did pretty good last week too at the road course too. So yeah, he's been chomping at the bits. He's someone that gotta wonder if he's got that win last year, but you gotta wonder if he's gonna get one this year and when it's gonna be. Might be it this weekend. See where he qualifies.
I mean, it would. I mean, the only thing I can say, maybe they don't have the gematria behind it, or maybe there's something I'm missing. But pretty sure you can buy some good old Quaker State at your local Napa. So that's a kind of a convenient pairing there too. So not to say that races have gone that way based on necessarily based on the sponsor of the race and the sponsor of the driver, but it's something. It's interesting with all the other things that we pointed out. That he's from Georgia and things of that nature. Could be like we talk about in narratives. How about that ESPN headline? Sure
Yeah, it's
they'd
hard to say. I think like I said, I think this is the Richter Plate race, so I think that a lot of people are shot to win this one. So could be even for all manufacturers too. Ford, Chevy, Toyota. I won't be surprised even if a Ford wins or something, but I think it's kind of one of those open races.
we shall see. Yeah, yeah, I'm willing to say that's pretty compelling for Chase Elliott. Just really quickly. I mean, it's not like we went through all the drivers or anything, but it's interesting. And I, like you said, we've been seeing that narrative building for him. He's been close several times, and they like to do that before, to kind of give it legitimacy. It's not every week we're going to get a Van Gisbergen or a Barry winning. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So most of the time they're going to go with stuff that makes sense that they built the narrative for. So I could see it. I could see it. So I guess I kind of alluded to it, but I was chuckling early in my little opening about what we're going to be talking about this last hour or so, and I just want to posit this whole idea for anyone that might be gung ho, or even wherever you're at politically, which should be generally apolitical. I don't care what you do, honestly, but from my perspective, it's best to kind of like keep your distance, keep an arm's length to everything. That way, you can kind of make your determination after. You should have some sort of self-screening process for information, in my opinion. And if you did that, and if you were diligent with that, I think it's only natural that you would be somewhere where we are, because you will have seen how ridiculous and how scripted these things are. You don't need to be into gematria or anything like that. These are not requirements. In fact, it's only after you've opened your mind. I can see why sometimes that gematria can be kind of like a hard opening to for people to for that to be the first thing they find out about. You know what I mean? I think why it resonated so much with us is because we already knew. We just didn't know. We didn't know what, but we knew or we knew something, but we didn't know what. We didn't know how, kind of. We knew, but we knew that there was something but for people that doesn't know that there's anything going on, and then finding out that these are, scripted number rituals, and I could see how that might be a hard. And I'm being very generous, by the way, because I can see, but I also really don't see, because it's not like we're geniuses over here. Although the average person does make us look as such on certain topics, like we're going to be getting into, like politics and sticking by these puppets on strings. But I just back to my point, the fact that a catchphrase out of our sitting president's mouth was "Make Iran Great Again." Who in that camp could possibly predict those words could ever come out of his mouth. And if there's no way that they could think he would ever say anything like that, no matter the context. That's what I'm saying. You can have context. I don't care. Why did he say this? Like, if you don't know, then you're probably spiraling then. And no, you shouldn't be spiraling over the actions of another person that you've never met and never will meet, and nothing like that. That's kind of gay. Anyway, that people care that much about what dudes say, let alone clandestine Manchurians. But anyway, I just thought that this was so funny when I saw it. Just that he said that he was going to make Iran great again after he puts in a new or helps put in a new system of government in Iran. This is, of course, after the bombings, but man, he ran on obviously making America great again, and we already know the connotation between of MAGA and the Satanic Church and all that stuff. But never put all that stuff aside. He ran on making putting America first in all of his aspects. And I could see how they could try to spin this, right? And say that, oh, this is putting America first because as long as Iran had this and this and this, we weren't safe, blah, blah, blah. That wasn't the deal. And we know it. You could say that about any country that has an inkling of like different belief systems. And that's the problem is that it's not the average person in each country that cares this much about like death to America, like they keep saying. It's not the average person thinking that. I'm sure they're thinking, where am I going to, how am I going to get my food? I got to go to work. Stupid shit. And it varies in different continents and in different countries, depending on the GDP of those nations. But it's not like, oh, death to America, the average person just walking down the street thinking that. But what you get is the media, the same way we get propagandized about Iran and the Middle East and everything like that. Look at what they see. Look, I don't know the average walk of life of the Middle East, of a Middle Eastern person, but holy shit, I know the average walk of life of an American. And it is fucking heresy. It does need to be eradicated. They don't need to die, but it needs to stop. That's there is that aspect that is, and I don't care what you call me. I've never been some kind of nationalist. National ideals are so stupid to me. I can't believe that people cling to that. I'm not a communist. I'm not an ist. I'm a realist, I guess. So I'm one ist, and the fact that people cling to these tribes and camps and everything, it's wild to me. You read biblical scriptures and you read like mythologies and you read about the people and how they were acting and it all and back in the day when I was a kid reading these, I was like, wow, this is such a far out idea. Now you look around and it's just like it's just unfolding before your eyes and it's just like, how is this possible? How do so many people just lost in the sauce all at the same time? It really is wild to me, but I just wanted to share this quick make Iran great again. I mean we should hop on shirts, hats first of all. We need a big, I don't know what color, maybe not red, they already got that. Maybe green, since green's in their flag, or is it in the Iranian flag? I don't know. Yeah, I think it is. It's like red, white, and green. But which is also kind of funny because the whole Mexico thing popping off and then Iran with the same colored flags. But anyway, yeah. What do you think about Make Iran Great Again?
Well, I mean, it's just the latest comedy show that's going on now, and it's gotten to the point where it's like we said, it's just brewing up every week. Um, all month it's just been exploding, and now you got this just blatant mockery. And you got so many spins off this too, because you got the this, like you said, I mean, how is there? It's amazing that Trump has any supporters. There's anybody supporting this. There's anybody that's down for this. Um, Especially with the situation we're in. But then you also have um, just what they're setting up, and I know a lot of people still somehow don't see it for what it is. Some people are underplaying it, like, oh, Iran is nothing, and we could just wipe them out, and they don't, and they're nothing, and they think they're thinking like it's like real war, but we know what war really is. It's just their games, and this is just more of their games. And then when the attack happens, and the cyber attack happens, that the grid goes down, and uh, all that stuff, it's going to be for um, this reason. Just everything going on right now. You got the black fatigue thing, then you got the Mexicans, now you got war with Iran, so you got all these enemies, all these people to point the finger at. And then you have just what it's leading up to. I mean, the war uh with like World War III, and then what you'd have here in America. You'd have what I believe, you just have the people, it'd be people fighting here. You'd have our own troops, people joining, but they'd be fighting here. uh kind of like that martial law type deal, where they're just kind of sanctioned and sanctioning off, and
Mhm.
kind of what they're doing already, and down south in Texas and Florida and LA with the riots and stuff. And um it'd just be more severe, because there'd be sleeper cells anywhere in the Iranians and the Iraqis or whoever is going to, come out and get you. But we all know it's just going to be them and their games, and what they're going to set up, and what they're going to do, and how they're going to, you know, make all this, come to fruition. But it's, um, that's what I see. It's, they bring like anything kind of like the draft back, I mean, that's, or something to that effect. I mean, it'd be people fighting, but you wouldn't be drafted. You'd be just fighting here, uh, fighting in the sanctions, fighting off uh, whatever your areas are, on, even attainable at that point. Areas that aren't, locked down or destroyed, that you even have a living space anymore. But uh, especially after the grid would go down, cyber attack, all that stuff. So uh, yeah, they're just setting the stage. All they're doing, they're setting the stage, and this is like the beginning cursor, the beginning kickoff to World War III. And what they want you to believe is going to be, Iran attacking, when this whole thing's just a big show. And, uh, and then it's, of course, it's coming at a time where it's like, I mean, and it's just like, and they're like, who the fuck would be wanting this right now? Like, what the fuck is wrong with people? It's like, you got all this shit right now, and just all the, I always say it too, Republicans, the war candidate, and you always see it, Bush, you had 9/11, Trump, you had COVID, now you got Trump again, war with the whole world. So now you got World War III already, and then you got everybody else that's going along with this, when we all know, the cost of war, in a time where, we already have people, uh, we're already in a depression. You got people losing jobs every day, every week, every month with AI and everything. And then you got, um, just the high cost of living as it is, people barely making it. Everybody's ending up homeless, suicides off the rails. Um, there's so many miserable, screwed up people now. War is going to make everything more expensive, going to drag up the cost of gas. Who knows? They might drag up to $10 a gallon, so no one's driving anywhere, no one's going anywhere. People are living in their cars that are homeless, won't be able to make it. I mean, uh, just all the things they're going to do with this. And um, yeah, I just, the cost of war, the cost of all this, what it cost us, and then just, like I said, everything else going on right now with AI and all this other stuff. So, you know, regardless of, um, I know a lot of people, like some people, they kind of see it, they kind of get it. Other people, they seem like they kind of don't. They seem like they're kind of underplaying it. They're not taking it for what it really is. And I mean, for people that have seen all this stuff, have seen the show for too long, it's just like, This is why, all these people right now, I don't blame them. They're getting out of the country. They want to leave the country. They want to get out of here, and I don't blame them. And it's just it's so um draining just sitting back watching this uh from the sidelines, just like the amount of just breading that's been going on the last, since January, since this year started, since Trump got back in the last few months, just how much he's, just shredding and shredded and just destroying this country and tearing it down and making it worse, uh, all by design, and then people just supporting it more and wanting it more. And somehow it's just like, um, yeah, I mean, it's just like for me, I just like, I can't wait for, like, I can't even stomach anymore. Like, I can't wait for shit to hit the fan so we can just get this shit over with already. And just like, because at this point, it's just awful that we have to keep living in a world where, things this bad and it's getting this bad and there's already no hope as it is. And now you got this. That's just like, and the way they went about it too, it's just like, oh, 2 weeks till July 4th. If I'm going into attack Iran, if we're going in there, and there's, oh, I got him. I already did it. Yep. Nope. Here we go. It's just like the way they're going about it. It's just like, and it's for people to be on board with it and just with everything else going on. So you have, uh, yeah, you have complete fallout. Yeah, you have complete, just fallout on every front, every end, and it's only going to get worse. And um, yeah, and like I said, 2 years from now, 50% of the jobs going to be gone. 5 years from now, 80% of the jobs are going to be gone. Then now you got to pay for World War III and all this other crap. I mean, this is why we're going to own nothing and be happy. It's like, this is why, we have the situations we have. This is why you got some people that are just uh, getting out of here now, leaving the country and getting out of here, because it's just there is nothing left to fight for here. There's nothing left to do here. I mean, there's no reason to really be here at this point, because it's just going to shit by design. But at this point, it's collapsing and imploding at such a just an impeccable rate, and it just gets worse and worse literally every day.
Well, I see how you feel on that, but let's ask Leighton, tall white man, what he thinks about it. Did you catch this? This guy. They wrote this article about this guy. His name is Leighton, tall white man. He's a short, fat man. He's white, but this is just ridiculous. Homeboy's 30. You're 30 and you look like that, dude. That's
Oh my
GG.
god.
That's GG's. I mean, you got time, but why do you look like a 45-year-old like lesbian? What's going on there? Like a power bottom. Anyway, not trying to be rude to my boy, tall white man. It's just, man, he could not live up to the name, that's for sure. One of Leighton Tall White Man's earliest memory of Tall White Man. This shit is so fake. It's crazy. AI is going crazy. Um, One of Leighton Tall White Man's earliest memories was watching the news at his uncle's house in Montana in 2003 and seeing the U.S. bomb Baghdad to launch the war in Iraq. Recollections of that war, waged in part to find weapons of mass destruction that did not exist, flooded back for Tall White Man after President Donald Trump ordered weekend bombing strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities amid its escalating conflict with Israel. The administration has indicated that it wants to avoid getting pulled into all-out war. Tall White Man, who grew up in the Northern Cheyenne Reservation southeast of Billings, is skeptical. Well, there you go, folks. They've you know went to that demographic, which, whenever things pop off, you really want to get the opinion of a tall white man. Everybody wants the opinion of a tall white man right now. Don't you feel that way? Don't you just feel like everybody's chomping at the bit to hear what tall white man has to say about it?
No one's gonna beat tall white man.
He's too tall. He's too white. He's too much of a man, to be honest. This guy, dear God. Oh man, this is crazy.
He must be on the cover of Playgirl.
Oh yeah. Every girl wants a tall white man. Well, here I am, baby. All right. Well, shit. Build the independent movement to stop Trump by any means necessary. You know what? You know what I think like kind of lessens the ability. I mean, the fact is this thing more than likely didn't write this sign. This sign has all the makings of a female that took really good notes in high school. Like the way it's written, like this guys don't do this is like not to I say that to say that I could. I always had really good handwriting as a kid. So it's like it is what it is. But I had plenty of girlfriends and friends that were girls that I would see how they took notes and everything. They take this weird, they write with gel pens and they make it all pretty and they make it all nice. Why would you who I would not read this sign. If I was walking by, I would not take the time to read this ugly like sign. And I hate to make it about that. It shouldn't be about that. But like the my point I'm trying to make is this guy didn't write this sign. He's holding up a sign that they probably one girl probably did like 30 signs for one of these organizations that hand them out for people to go get paid probably under minimum wage to go and act a fool because they're not qualified to do anything else. So they'll take anything they can get. And these people are getting paid to do this crap. Go hold up a sign. If anyone asks you what you're out there for, tell them to read the sign. Don't answer with your own words because you're an idiot. Don't do that. You'll give yourself away that you don't know what the fuck you're doing out there.
A bunch of peepees, paid protesters.
Yes, sir. And look at these. Like, where do you get this sign? Who handed you that sign? You hands off, Iran. What are you? What? Hands off? What is it like? Are we equating this to like assault, sexual assault?
It's gonna be hands off America when the shit goes down. That's what it's gonna be. That's when you're getting your protest sign. Hey, quit taking the grid down. Hey, quit, turn off the power. Hey, quit doing.
I need to get back on Twitter and tell them I don't appreciate having no internet. How do I tweet that I hate our president and they're taking my internet away without internet? How do I do that?
We're anti cyber attack and anti grid going down.
Like, what the hell is this? He's burning incense? Okay. It's all going in his own face. It's like, what? All right, bro. I'm sure you're married and that's not some kind of Masonic ring too. Or boule, probably. Anyway. I just thought that was interesting. Got the tall white man's opinion, so we're pretty much set. How the US bombarded Iranian nuclear sites without detection. Oh yeah, because they don't have internet over there. They couldn't have just easily see like we put it in hours before it happened. We said we're sending like I understand the kind of misdirect that you're not going to get what the military is doing as it's doing it, which is also kind of like a funny thing. But without going too far into this, I could honestly give a shit. It's what I want to kind of discuss. And now that we've seen some of the headlines, I think it's fine enough to I don't know, these headlines are crazy. To kind of, start our riff session, I would say with because you kind of alluded to it a little bit better than I did, but with all these, systems pulling everybody in all these different ways. Well, never mind everybody. I mean, everybody is an issue, and we could talk about that on more at length. But as far as men right now, with the potential, war, that already is happening, but like with the potential of war breaking out, and there'll be talk of a potential draft and everything like that. I don't want to go too far into like a draft because I think that'd be really hard to pull off in this day and age. I think first of all, I think our military is plenty capable, and I think that's always what they're going to do. They're always going to allude to not having enough because that will scare enough people into thinking it's their duty to join. So it's kind of like a selling tactic. I've always felt that way. So I don't think we've ever been record low numbers, and I don't buy any of that stuff. I think those are all tactics to, just continue to boost enlistment. But on that note, you will have people volunteering because what I've seen of the world lately is that you're beholden to one camp or the other, and there's no in between. There's no camp of logic happening right now. There's no, you know, centric or centrist ideals camp. There's no let's find out, let's see what's going on, let's make informed decisions camp. There is a it's emotional on both sides of the aisle. And what can happen is, when the emotions are on high, and even the lack of emotions, you have men cutting off their emotions because their prospects have become so limited or low in their minds and in their opinion, and not just in their minds, but ultimately in their minds. um that the military could provide that a good choice for a lot of men. And I'm not even to going so far as to say that there's nothing good about the military. I won't say that. Or let me say a military, okay? The military, I don't find anything very anything good about it other than the potential for self-improvement in certain areas, but at the expense of the other things that happen to you, not worth it, obviously. But I think you'll have an influx of young men and deciding that this is the fight that they are willing to take on, because one thing that we know for sure is that we thrive on some sort of purpose. Right now you have I almost want to say it's like a 50-50 split. The way I see it, the way the people I've worked with, the people I've known, it's like half and half. Half have a motivation. Maybe it's not like the craziest motivation or some like super intense goal, but they have a motivation, and the other half almost fight to not have a motivation, and they want to live in complete do whatever they want world that usually, unless you're a millionaire, that looks pretty shitty, let me tell you that. um so for those people that do want a motivation and feel the lack of motivation, this could fill that gap really easily. And historically, I think that that's happened multiple times. I think that's one of the propaganda biggest selling points of the propaganda of war and enlisting is for the men to it's preying on this instinctual DNA that we have to have some sort of purpose, whether or not and we'll fill in the blanks. They don't even have to like be that crazy about it. It's not like they have to have anecdotal evidence. They don't have to bomb your next door neighbor or your mom's house. Just look at like, after 9/11 and the enlistment rates after that and things of that nature. They can get you on a psychological, you know, kick, and before you know it, they know what to prey on with men and women and the differences that we share or that we have in order to get responses. And so, all that to say, I think you talk about this a lot, that men are at an all-time low point right now. I mean, you just had anecdotal evidence with one of I think it was a man, right? From your gym that committed suicide.
Yeah, someone, I don't know who it was, but someone that I talked at the gym, like their buddy or whatever just killed themselves. But yeah, they just, I mean, I don't know if there's been another one. I think there was another one too lately, but they've just been, I mean, the suicide rate for men is just absolutely just astonishing. There's just suicides every day. I mean, I hear more and more about it. Just people dying, committing suicide left and right. I mean, it's an epidemic right now. It's insane.
And yeah, you're not going to hear about that on the mainstream media. That you're going to hear about foreign wars. You're going to hear about Trump every day. You're going to hear about, you know, all this melodrama and this White House daytime drama that they got going on right now. But you're not going to hear about real problems that affect people, normal everyday people. And so for men specifically, talking about this drive they either have or they suppress to have a purpose, um, when that's not being fulfilled, like I said, they can easily fill in the blanks. You can easily weasel in there with something that sounds good and that historically the propaganda works. You'll see what the average like airman looks like, and you'll be like, "Well, damn, these dudes are put together because they are." But there is facts to that kind of stuff. These people, so you'll see you'll apply an average to the exceptional. Whereas, imagine all the people in World War I and II. Imagine storming the beaches of Normandy. Of course, those were drafts and certain things of that nature, but I'm sure a lot of people enlisted voluntarily. So, did they apply themselves thinking that they're running headfirst into a machine gun off of a boat once they drop the little guard? Or did they apply themselves to flying the fighter jet that bombs the boat that saves the day? You know, so the propaganda works. You can get a lot of people to sign up for something using, the upper echelon of what they can achieve. That's what school does. That's what athletics does. That's what everything does, really. Honestly, that's what jobs do. That's really what they do to us. That's a better way of saying it. That is how they manipulate us to give efforts that is mostly wasted when you on the scale of what it actually does for you. But if you were well rounded, those things would already be in your life. So let's say even if you are just a working person, you would have work ethic. You would have your own yeah, you might be doing more for your employer than you necessarily should by like ethics standards, but your own ethics determine what you act like and what you do. And so when it comes to the military, I think you can get a large influx of men right now because there like I said, there's two camps and it's almost like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you it's that no one wants to be left behind. And if you feel an influx of your tribe, your group moving towards a certain destination, you want to go with them. And I think that that's what they're kind of moving towards, whether or not this war is in the Middle East or not. Like I've talked about this. I talked about this earlier, and you just we've talked about this, to be honest. But yes, this whole idea of the war being fought, I've spoken about, um, using military rather than police. Why they would want more military is because you can assign people from New Jersey to Idaho. They're not going to have as much of a problem locking down Idaho. Now, if you told them to go lock down their mom's house, you'd have an issue more than likely. But when you bring them, so it's like local enforcement, you might have a backlash at some point. If you were telling local law enforcement to lock down their neighborhoods that they live in with their family and like lock their roads down and what martial law and is, you might have a backlash from those enforcement officers. Whereas the military, you can separate that. And we've talked about this too with the separation of family and how they've just tore away those layers to where now more often than not, you might even have like a parent that doesn't agree with you being in the military, and you're like, well, this is what they get. This is their comeuppance, if you will. I'm going to lock down your state, and you'll see, mom. You should have been with me. You'll see, dad. You should have understood what I was. You know what I mean. But yeah, like you said, using the military for martial law here, and so it could be to where one thing I want to kind of throw out there, and then I'll let you have the floor. But what I've been kind of narrative wise seeing is a potential another airplane like cataclysm controversy thing, but with a potential of airplanes like dropping out of the sky. In my opinion, people got to die. And I don't think they're willing to bomb the US. I don't think they're ever going, like, maybe not ever, but I don't think they're going to bomb the US as brazen as like a missile strike in Iran and Israel. Like, they're not going to trade. I don't think we're going to end up trading missiles. I don't know why I don't think that. I just don't think we would. We have to consider ourselves like special in some way. Like, think about 9/11, the hijackers, and like the movie aspect of what happened. It has to be like a movie. It has to be like Die Hard. It'll happen in America like Die Hard. Planes will drop out of the sky, like EMP, stuff like that of that nature.
Yep.
So that's what I think is coming, is to watch out for that. They've been alluding to it, and also they need a changing of the guard for all the new Boeing uh, airplanes that are set to come out. Not only the military contract F-47s that they got, but they are slated for all new planes. And we're not going back to Zeppelins for fuck knows reason, but yeah. So this is another way of how they usher in the new, is by providing the controversy for the old. Speaking of Zeppelins, that's why we're on airplanes to begin with. Is like Hindenburg bullshit. Anyone go do your due diligence, you'll find out that Hindenburg was definitely an inside job. It's the Titanic of the sky. And anyway, I'll leave it at that. But anyway, go back to my main points about the human element of things. What do you think about that psychological element for men right now?
Yeah, I totally agree with where you're coming from, and I see it from a lot of different angles too. Because, um, obviously, with the younger, with like Gen Z, and you can even argue that I'm the very start of Gen Z. Some people say it was the start of '97. Some people say it was the start of '95. So you could say that I'm either the very end of millennials or the very start of Gen Z. But um, there's a lot of rebellion, or rebellious energy, I guess you could kind of say, coming from Gen Z right now, and it is festering in a way that, with what you said, makes a lot of sense. And because, it's on all fronts, because you do have a lot of, you know we're in our 30s, so we're kind of old, but then you got the guys in their teens and their 20s right now, and they're, some of them, they're in great shape and stuff, and they're either, maybe they're in or not in the military or the police, or whatever. But um some are just, they're in great shape. There's a lot that aren't, though, of course, too. There's a lot that uh wouldn't be able to put up any kind of a fight. Some will be able to, but you have such a just a diverse generation, and for so many reasons. And yeah, I mean, you have a lot of people on kind of both sides, um, tipping the scales for, a reason to live or something, and I think, like I said, one thing that really, I believe, will ignite all this. I believe what will happen. They've already told you what's coming. They already told you what it's going to be. It's going to be a cyber attack. The grid's going to go down. They've already said this how many times, that this is what they're going to do. When will it happen? We don't know, but this is probably coming very, very soon, especially with all this right now. And then, um, this being the start of World 3, and then they have a reason to be like, oh, see, they hacked us. They took down the system, the grid, the power, everything. People's bank accounts will be emptied. People will have nothing left. That is a way to get a lot of people to fight because you took everything from them, like, especially, people that are doing well. Say you got, say you're 25 and you got like $500,000, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you got nothing because, cyber attack, grid down. Now there's nothing to live for. So, well, fuck, it's Iran. Well, fuck Iran. Let's go get them, whatever, and then they're gonna set it up, and this is how I see it going down. And I think a lot of people some people will see through it because some people are just so ahead of the game. Like, some people are not going to be fooled, but there's a lot of people that either will be fooled or just won't have any other option. It's like a lot of people, they don't want to be homeless. They don't want to feel like nothing. They don't, like, oh, I got nothing left to live. So what's there to live for? Let's go kill some people, or let's go join this war. Let's do this, or whatever. So yeah, you're gonna have people with their back against the wall while their walls are closing in, that, whether they're gonna sell out, join the military, sign up, or, if they um do kind of somewhat bring back a draft or something for guys in like the teens and the 20s. It'd be interesting to see what that would look like. Um but I see it kind of like I said, I see it, being here in the States, and I see it kind of being like kind of sanctions. And um, like I said, I mean, I kind of expect them to just create mass chaos. I mean, I'm sure they're going to use uh, the weather and get things, completely messed up too. So you're really, you're not just fighting the little freak war that they're going to have. You're going to be fighting the elements, the sleeper cells, if you will. They're going to come up with all this stuff and create all this. And um, yeah, and I think that, and when you look at a lot of the younger generation, I mean, they don't really, I mean, it's kind of, you have the like I said, you have the tale of two sides. It's kind of like people like I went to school with, because it's kind of like, it was kind of the haves, the have-nots. You got, the millionaires, the millionaire parents, and, now their kids are sitting back with, millions of dollars. And I know someone I went to school with, they got like burned by like an ATV or something. They got like a $500,000 like settlement out of it or something, just for getting burned. So, and these are people that are already well off. Their parents bought them cars and houses, and you know they got millions and they're all set. So they just got everything handed to them. But um, for the have-nots, uh, which there's a pretty good amount of have-nots. I mean, this is a perfect opportunity for them, but also people that are the haves. When shit hits the fan and they lose everything, how are they going to act? What's they're going to, what are they going to be like? So this creates it from both ends. The people that already don't have anything, they just don't nothing to live for. But then the people that, when they do lose what they have, how are they going to retaliate? What are they going to do? And I believe that's where the real danger will come, when those two heads clash. And I guess you could look at almost like a civil war aspect. And I believe that's why the military is gonna it's gonna be an all out fight when it happens. But um however it really goes down, whatever they're gonna do. But yeah, I mean, everything's in the works right now. And like you said, I mean, with the kids coming up now, in the with the way the world is, they can't start families, they can't get married, they can't have a house, they can't do anything and accomplish anything. And you already have, a generation coming up that's already so just messed up and screwed up as it is for the most part. So you don't really have um they're not looking out for the Gen Xers or the boomers or whatever. So you're not really getting you know any compatibility with them. So that's the other thing. You don't you just have a very divided nation right now. And that's the thing. I mean, it's divided on all fronts. So this is perfect. I mean, it goes perfect for the war, but I really feel like they could play this any way they want because they have all the narratives right now. I mean, they have everything on the board. I mean, they've been just knocking it down. I mean, black fatigue and Mexicans, and the riots, and this and that, and World War III and Iran. So, I mean, you got anyone you want to blame, you got all these people, around that you can point the finger, and they're, a lot of people are going to go along with it, believe it. Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like the stage is set, and right now it's, things are just starting, they're just beginning. And I think that, if they're gonna, this is gonna be something that over the course of the next 5 years, or even the course of even this year, things will be completely different by the end of the year. But that might be when we get the event too. I mean, the big one or something. Because I always say, like, if they're gonna do something big, they're gonna do it in the wintertime, where you can take a lot of people out and really mess people up too. And that would also, you know, encourage the military, because it's, the times that we'd be in. If it was uh, a very brutal winter, which I believe it will be, that'd be a perfect time, because a lot of people are going to end up losing their life or whatever. So that they have a lot of they got a lot of ammo right now wherever they want to aim it.
Yeah, and we're kind of, I feel like we're on our, just ducking in the trenches. We don't really have a game plan as a civilization, as is the, what are we, what's going to be left to carry on if this, if something does pop off, and not to say it already hasn't, but in a much at a much larger scale, you know, God forbid, all out war breaks out like has been rumored, and Albert Pike, the third world war over, political Zionism and all that kind of good stuff. You see that playing out. You're talking about, masonry, the uh rebuilding the the third temple, and building third temple, and in biblical Jerusalem, and where Israel is, and all that kind of stuff. And you see how that's playing out on the world stage. And if it were to pop off to where you had a large conscription, if you will, or enlistment of men, you know don't leave us, bros. Like, I feel like if that were to be happening, we'd have to be down like at some military bases right outside, as close as we can get, to kind of you know blare our horns and try to catch these guys before they go make a huge mistake. Because I just feel that they don't have, I feel like it's something as simple as a conversation that they could have with, one of us, or someone of a similar ilk, to not to tell them about all the corruption in the world, but just to give them a different hope, a different light than the only one them seeing being, you know, it's a trap. The brotherhood of the military is a trap. I'm not saying it. It preys on a real necessity that we have as men and as people, not just as men, but specifically for men. There is a, they call it a brotherhood for a reason. I've heard that there's a sisterhood, but we might kill each other, but at least it's just to see who's stronger. Whereas like girls, it's like, damn, they'll do everything but kill each other. It seems kind of more brutal in a certain way. But anyway, uh, yeah, it's what would be left. And what would be left is, so to be honest, the more I talk about it, the more I think that narrative wise, and the way things generally go, I don't see another way, knowing how the controllers play this game, how they thin the herd and cull the strongest. And a good shepherd culls the weakest. That's how we have terrible overlords. They always cull the strongest. They they stop and they snuff out any before it's ever even a rebellion. They know to get well ahead psychologically of it with distraction and propaganda, in order for these things to quell themselves from the inside out. Not to mention, the the way they operate is by, you know, going into certain operations and, tearing apart from the inside out. Uh, but anyway, as far as as far as the men potentially, signing their life away more than they already have, the life they really don't have to begin with, because that's just factual. We don't The life that we think we have on paper, it doesn't exist. In fact, from the moment we are born, we are still under an act that was signed in 1666. And the more people don't know that, the more they still think that we got a shot politically to like talk this out, to like figure this out and just or go our own way or do anything like that. It's not that simple. It'll never be that simple. And even if we overthrow the powers that be tomorrow, it's not that simple still then. What we would have to replace it, it would still be just as unreliable. What I think is necessary is to let go of the idea of fixing. And honestly, I have enough hope, or I guess not, maybe not hope. Hope's a bad word. I have enough. I'll just use hope as a placeholder. That if we were to overthrow the systems we have now, that we would figure it out. I've always had taken kind of the stance that I'd rather figure it out. I don't know why people can't be there. I feel like it is the most logical, but there's people that are so stuck where we are now that they would rather have it be this, no matter how bad it gets. Even if tomorrow missiles are striking down, they would still think that the system we have is the one that we need to propel forward. Whereas I just think if we were to tear it down, we would be in control of the teardown. I don't that's the only way that we could ensure that we're the ones that are making the decision. Because as long as we go along with, these planned out routines, we're never, we're always just going to be following a route that leads us back into the pen. It's, they're just waving the bag of dog treats. And it's just like, the dog's like debating, do I just keep running? I smell like a rabbit over there. I smell like nature. I want to go. And I'm talking about even my own dog. He's an escape artist. And part of me is just all like, I want him to come back to me without the dog treats because that's just how it works. But I'm a realist. So it's like, okay, he can't keep running. Yeah, he's going to get lost. He's gone. But, yeah, we fall for the bag of dog treats, and at that point, you're at the behest of the owner, and you're never going to get past that invisible barrier in your mind. Well, it's not just invisible; they've put up barriers, but mentally, that I think too many people can't see it working. Never mind it working; it doesn't need to work. It just doesn't need to be this. That's where I'm trying to what I'm trying to say. It's hard to articulate this when I've thought about it so much, but I've never actually tried to like necessarily s- say it out loud or speak it in a concise way. So sorry for my rambling, but I just think we sell ourselves short. And even if what we have to offer in replace of what this is not good, it won't be this. And I have enough faith, I guess, for lack of a better word, that we would be all right either way. Even if no internet ever came back on, even if we couldn't refine fuel easily anymore. It's like people figure that out. We'll figure stuff out. If we wanted to do that again, I guess we would do that again. But I don't know. I just think that there's a better way to do it, things in almost all regards that aren't this necessarily this industrious way. And the only reason they are the way they are is because they need to control large groups of people. And if that went away, the need for all that would go away as well. And we would figure out a better more holistic way, if you will.
Yeah, it's it's interesting too because like when I lived in like Wyoming, everybody I knew not only got everyone that was like my age or younger, they not only all got the jab, but they all were in pretty much for the most part in the military, or signing up for the military. And yeah, I mean that's just the thing. I mean, yeah, a lot of people. And that's the other thing too is you got a lot of people that are just too complacent, like you said. I mean, they're just too good. Things are just too good. They got that warm running shower. They got their Mickey D's, their Walmart, whatever they need to get by and uh, having their life, and that's good enough for them. So they're just going to keep fighting for the system for the most part instead of rebel against system. Uh, Unfortunately, it's just like uh, it's like would you rather fight for nothing, or would you rather uh, destroy and crash what we have and overhaul it and make it into something better, or something what bring it back to what it used to be or what it should be, rather than just keep kicking the can down the road when you're just kicking it, into the grizzly bear den, the tiger den, where you're just going to get mauled alive if you keep, just kicking that thing, or, do you want to pick it up, recycle it, and move on and live a righteous, healthier, happier life? There's too many people that will fight for the crap and just keep pushing this thing along instead of, it's like, that's like I said, I rather have shit hit the fan and just get it over with. And if we survive it, great. If we don't, well, I mean, I guess too bad, because the longer it goes, the worse it's going to be anyways. And I'd rather just face it and just man up and just face it and get it over with. And if I lose, I lose. But, I rather deal with it now before it becomes, something that's, the longer it goes, the worse it's going to be. I mean, obviously it needs to crash, needs to be destroyed, needs to all go away and be done for forever. It needs to be overhauled. We got to get rid of this money system. We got to get rid of all this stuff. We got to, there's so much that's got to be done. And, um, with the majority of the populace, they're not going to be the ones to, fulfill that. Like I said, most people are just going to, keep kicking the can down the road. This is good enough for them. They're not going to have any issues, or, you know, for the most part, you just don't have enough people that, and then some people, like I said, they may have had enough, but they're just gonna, get out of the country. They're gonna go somewhere else. You can do something else. You got a lot of people that are in a lot of different lanes right now. You got a lot of people that they're doing different things. Some people they're just kind of get up on life. They're just, commit suicide. Other people they're just going homeless. They're struggling. Other people they're finding ways to succeed, but they only really care about the money. They don't really, they're just gonna keep propping the shit show up. And then you got other people, and you got you know, all these people in all these different lanes. But that you can only be, it's like a race. So there can only be one winner. Only one of these lanes is coming through. And um, whoever, if there is a winner, if there is a right lane to pick, if there is a correct lane at the end of the day, because all these people think that, there's a problem too. You got all these people caught up in their egos, thinking that they're right, their way's better. Um, and that's another reason why things just, they don't change. They just keep getting worse, because you just don't have the right mentalities out here. And then, like you said, things hit shit hits the fans, the things happen. Um, you don't know. I mean, it's hard to say exactly, even where I live, what things would look like, depending on what happens. That's the other thing. You don't know what exactly they're going to do. And um, with the way they got things, that, they can pull whatever they want. And then, um, you know, some people, they might not be open minded enough to see it. Unfortunately, they might just go the route where people just didn't think that that was possible, or that they could possibly do that. And then they pull it, and then they're pull it off again. It's just, we're at such a pinnacle in the timeline, the history of humanity right now. We're like at that pinnacle moment where it's just like, what will be like our last straw? Like what will be like our last decision? Like what will be what what will be our final stand is what is kind of coming from what I'm seeing for the most part. But yeah, I think a lot of people right now they're under the radar, just like these bomber planes. They're just flying under the radar. They're just not really seeing the big show before it really begins. But yeah, it's going to be real interesting to see what happens this week, and like I said, by July and the rest of the summer, and getting into the fall and stuff, and how much things really do escalate by then. Because I mean, it's just getting more and more by the day, and unfortunately, the divide is also growing more by the day.
I mean, that was very well put. I even like wrote it down. I'll try to remember potentially clip that because that was very well put. That yeah, I mean, kicking it down the road, whether or not that's for your future self or your kids or the next generation to deal with. It's it's one thing if you don't have kids, and I'm not trying to like add a level of separation. Everybody has their contributions to the next generation, whether or not you have kids or not. But for me, that's like obviously a huge aspect of my life is that I look at what's going on, and I can't fathom not doing my best to set my kids up mentally more than like financially or anything like that, mentally and physically for what they're potentially going to have to go through because of the lack of will of the people around them. And in order to be still carry a certain, once again, I don't like the word hope or anything like it. It's not really hope I'm talking about. It's like not tipping your head, not bowing your head, and you know just walking in a line with everybody else, and having not just being rebellious, because like as you mentioned, that rebellious spirit, it's good to have it, but not when you're not in control of it. And when that rebellious spirit is in the hands of another person, that part of your mind is in the hands of another person, you see how dangerous it is. You're radicalized either way. And when it's not of your own accord and your own doing, that's when, you know, that pessimism and that like rebellious nature can work against you big time. And that's what I was kind of speaking on is that yeah, you have the like liberal rebellion right now that is, never going to try to join a war or anything like that. But in doing so, they're putting their foot forward with these effeminate shit men. I hate to call them men. Not that I'm some like Adonis of male culture. I don't care to be. I don't. In fact, that annoys me. That whole like um not like everything about it annoys me. I appreciate a lot of it actually, but just the sphere they've made out of that, the culture they've made it into is really annoying. It should be a personal culture, a personal journey that, yeah, we come together and we, I'm fine with that. But just to make that like that's what it all is, that annoys me. But never mind that. The complete opposite with these like femboys representing the other side, that's enough to drive a quarter of the population to war. There's like, well, I ain't gonna be that, and if this can help me not be that, let's go, dude. Sign me up. So that's another aspect I wanted to speak on, but I think we almost covered it. But that's I feel like that's pretty succinct. There's been such a rise of these like I guess they're considered slick talking and like they have these shit takes and they're all just about matter of fact gotchas and they talk like little bitches, and it's just like, dude, what is the of course, like, and they're paid for. I'm not saying these are like, but there are obviously real people that do that as well. But I'm just saying, like, the internet's not real as far as what we see on a daily basis for the majority of people. It's propaganda. It's propped up people, propped up ideas, propped up narratives in order to drive a story forward and for your brain to. I've spoken about the psychology about this, but what it is, it's like the earlier an idea is sits in your brain, where you found out that idea from, you will hold that up. Amongst any the if you get new news about it, you will doubt the new news instinctually, no matter who you. It's the same. It's like Munchausen. It's like how you can have an abusive parent keep you in a house, and what they told you, your brain will say that is more likely a fact than anybody else telling me something different about that same subject. And so that's how propaganda works, is they prey on something that hasn't been articulated in your life yet. They will articulate it for you to, and you'll trick yourself into thinking it's your idea. But all the while you've been driven by somebody else's motive, by somebody else's motive is a good word for what for what you should be doing. It's very mind controlly. It's very, MK Ultra. It's not as much as, putting you in a room and LSD and all that stuff, but it might as well be. They know inside and out. First of all, those experiments was so that you can those were finding out how to manipulate people that aren't on it. You open up the brain, you release the inhibitions, and how now say you had a subject with lower inhibitions by fear in the news, instability in their life, getting vaccines and having chemicals, who knows? There might as well be LSD in those. The way people have reacted on it, the propaganda wing, all these things. That's what those subjects were there for. It wasn't because they plan on releasing LSD to everybody. It was psychological operations. They are finding out how to do it en masse. In order to find, you have to create a negative. They were the negatives. They were the baseline. How do we open this part of the brain up? How do we close this part of the brain? Well, you're not going to do it on somebody that's like, get out of my brain. You have to have an open brain. And so those drugs are there to open up people's brains, chemically, in order for them to see what synapses fire based off what instance. And from then, all that stuff has been indexed for decades and decades and decades to where we are now, to where all they got to do is say toilet paper on the news, and we run out like fucking retards and buy it for what? Even if it was the flu, what the fuck are you doing with all that toilet paper? What are you burning it? Well, I don't understand. You eating it? I don't get it. What do you think you're gonna do with it? Is that the new? Oh, it's been 40 days. Are you writing on it? I don't get it.
Going TPing toilet paper in people's houses, I guess.
That'd be worth it.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, that's just where it's at. I mean, and the thing is, I mean, it's not that, I mean, I brought up how just easily offended people are too with stuff, it's just like people just get so offended with things these days. But, it's not even just that, but it's just, yeah, I mean, everybody for the most part, when you look at them, it's pretty much the same person. I mean, like I said, I mean, I've lived in Wisconsin, Wyoming, Washington. It's the same everywhere you go for the most part. The way that people are. I mean, you don't have a lot of free thinkers. You just have a lot of people that you can't really get to. I mean, most people are they're closed off. Uh, they're kind of in their own headspace. They're just, whether some people you can still connect with or, deal with or be a part of their life or have fun with or maybe have a relationship with. But most of them, there's really not much that you can do because they're just so set in their ways. They don't want to, break out of it either way. They don't want to, either they don't want to learn, they don't want to think about things, or if something is going to happen, they're just kind of set in their ways about it. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's the politics. Maybe it's whatever. It's you just have a lot of people that just don't. They just don't see things either for what they are. They don't. They don't really. I don't know. They don't think deeply, and they don't feel deeply. It's like me. I'm a deep thinker, a deep feeler, but you don't see most people like that around. Most people are pretty shallow when it comes to the emotions. That's why people are just so easily picked apart, because they don't retaliate to nothing. There's no emotion. There's no nothing. I mean, if you're just walking around like a piece of wood, well, you're going to be treated like a piece of wood. I mean, that's just what you have in society. I mean,
You're gonna
you
get
know, you
nailed.
can take, yeah, you're gonna take the nail. You're gonna take this. You're gonna take that. You're gonna, whatever.
You're gonna get screwed.
Vape shop. You might want to check. I'm not sure where it's at. You might want to. Thank you. Some guy wanted to know where a vape shop was. I'm like, oh, what's this about?
Fiendin'.
But yeah, he needs his vape. He needs his
He needs some
I,
zins.
his zins.
But I'll say this real quick. I want you to finish your point because you were cooking. Just while we're on that, people need to stop fucking vaping and using those little shitty gay pouches, dude. Everything's so. I'm not even like I don't really care about like aesthetics all that much. But one thing I'll say for sure is there's like smoking cigarettes is like neutral looking. I'm talking about looking. None of this is good for you, so stop it all. Everybody, stop it all. But then there's like the vapors that had those huge mods, you know what I'm talking about? And they would blow fat clouds. Now you got these little just grown men walking around like, oh my god, are you guys not seeing it? Like the what you're inhaling is like a hole this big. It's dude, there's something like they're doing something to like the look of people. First of all, not to mention it's super every podcast type of show I watch, they all have one of those. And they're just like talking, and then they'll just be like, and then just get back to it like it's nothing. I'm like, bro, you look so gay. Do you have no idea? Do you not watch these things back? You look so gay. I don't know. And I'm not talking about like the modern day gay. I'm talking about 90s gay, bro. You're gay.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyway,
when I smoke weed, I hit out of the pipe, and also some people got like vapes for weed and stuff. Like I get that, but yeah, the vaping thing, that's just like how that just came into play. Not even talking about people that smoke weed out of it or get high off it, but just people that just vape other stuff. But yeah, I just how that the e-cigarette and all that stuff, how that just came into fruition. It's like, yeah, then you like the old cigarettes. People were healthier and better off just smoking the cigarettes, and they are on the vape and the e-cigarettes and these vape pens and all this other stuff they got now. It's like, if you're not going to smoke weed, you might as well just either just go back and just smoke a cigarette. Get a light up an old Winston, watch the Winston Cup series.
oh yeah. We're not sponsored, guys. All right. Maybe one day. Maybe one day we'll get 23XI or we'll get good old gay boy himself, Hendrick to sponsor one of our videos. We'd have to
That would be
probably
a
cut down the
Winston
rhetoric.
Cup Dick Trickle, just cigarette after cigarette, just chain smoking in the car.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll let you. I don't know if you remember where you were going with that, or you have a point to finish, but I'll let you have the floor for close us out here. You seem to be a natural at it.
Yeah, we're just talking about where society. It's funny, I'm talking about this, and some guy rolls up just asking for where a vape shop is, and truck just pulls over, like, roll your window down, roll it. I'm like, what's this about? And then I'm like, oh, okay, vape or looking for something, okay, but Yeah, that's just my point exactly. I mean, from my experience, dealing with people, I mean, I think a lot of people, um, like I always say, the only hope is, when things go down, it's that people, know it's go time, and and kind of, that's really the only hope to really snap them out of it, is they have to be in that position, um, where it basically already has to be, over for them or too late for them to, want to snap out of it, want to do more, uh, than what they normally do, or to go against the grain, because most people, like I said, even back in 2020, and I was telling people not to, you know, to go join the military, or not to, get a jab or whatever, whatever it was, don't get tested, whatever. It's just like, you know, people, the thing was, it was how they went about it, because it wasn't to the point where they, some people, because they were in college or something, they had to go do it, or for their job or whatever, and that was a lot of people's thing. But it's like I always say, I mean, they didn't, force anything out of you back in 2020. Nobody, put a gun to your head. Nobody threatened you. The most that people did was they had the military come out, like I said, the Minneapolis, Minnesota, other places, with the military firing, rubber bullets and beanbags you to get back in your house. That's as far as they took it. I mean, besides if you got caught up and wrapped up in, the chaos and the riots and stuff like that, that were, uh, running rampant. But yeah, I mean, that's just the thing. I mean, most people, they're just, they're looking for ins and outs right now. They're looking for ways to get by. Like that guy got to get some, vape or something. People, looking for, escapisms and stuff, and, um, to deal with the world. And it is what it is. But I think the best thing that we, like I said, I mean, it's like the sooner the shit would happen, the better. Because if I sit here and I think, like, okay, how positive am I going to be in 5-10 years, if the can gets kicked down the road for 5-10 years, or we make it to 2039, and then they do it, on the next 19-year cycle. It's like, because by that point, I feel like we're going to be so things are going to be just so ridiculous, so just so, beyond gone repair, besides of what they already are now. uh it's like, I can't even imagine what that world and that time is going to be like. Then if I look at, right now, it's like, yeah, right now it doesn't feel like we have a chance or shot already, but as bad as things are, but the longer this goes, the worse it's going to be. So I'm looking at it like, yeah, I rather see shit go down sooner than later, because, the sooner it is, that, the more chance. But the division's only going to get worse. Everything else is only going to get worse. The falling away is only going to amplify, by, uh, multitude that we can't imagine. And then, we're going to have to, like I said, if we're still here by, 2039, and that's going to be it. You have to look at another decade and a half of destruction, and what that would even be. Um, because by then they're just gonna, it's like with AI. I mean, I believe, like I said, it's a, perfect example. 2 years from now, 50% of the jobs are going to be gone, and 5 years from now, 80% of the jobs are going to be gone. Well, things just can't go like that. I mean, things just can't, play. Something's got to give in the middle. Something has to happen in the middle, and there's got to be some, issue, or major, fall off point, or point of no return, where something eventually happens, and then that's where it all, goes at that moment. But, um they're driving us there. But the problem is, the other thing, it's always on their go too. I mean, whenever they have something planned, and then it goes down, and they have it all, set to go, instead of, us, beating them to the punch, where, they're not prepared. Like, if everybody stopped going to McDonald's or Walmart or something, be like, oh fuck, I couldn't fucking believe it, they switched it up on us, like, we just, we make it too easy. And that's like what I said. If we give them, too much time to just, kick the can down the road, and instead of deliver that, that fatal kick or punch to knock us out or kill us. We let them play too much. We just keep letting them play, and uh, that's what's just making us fall apart at the seams faster than anything. And that's what's got to change. There has to be a quickness, unfortunately, in the overhaul of what we got going on and the overhaul of the situation of not just the money, but our quality of life, our country, and just our jobs, our future. Everything needs a massive overhaul right now. um the sooner the better. We have to somehow find a way to be unscripted.
Nice. Well, I'm not. I can't top that. That's a finale if I ever heard one. Well, we say this at the near the end of every episode, sometimes at the beginning, but we'd love anybody watching to get involved with the conversation, and especially when we're talking about stuff like this, because it's not like it's men centric either. It's like anybody who has a voice and has a like I like to talk about a calling for you know coming back to reality, really, but personability and getting re, re I don't know what the word is but for it, but kind of reforming that social togetherness that that we should have. Maybe we never had it the way we should have, but we got to start making strides on it. And I'm not saying that we're the next Jesus and the apostles. I'm saying, like, in your personal life, it doesn't have to be us. I'm saying, yeah, come and join us. That would be great. But, in all facets, we need more people to be more out there, in a positive, constructive way. And, because that's going to inspire the people to see that there's something worth fighting for rather than giving it up to go fight for, their overlords. And, so yeah, join the conversation. Obviously, the scrolling email is if you want to hit us up for anything really. But especially if you wanted to join the podcast, we're taking all guests. We could work that out, as well as just leave any ideas or critiques, whatever, in the comment section down below, and we get to every comment. But yeah, thank you for watching, everybody, and we will see you guys next week for our last June episode 41.
Peace.